Hello everyone, David here.
And hello, this is Michael.
We're here to talk about Star Trek Picard, mostly because if you go on YouTube, there's hundreds of videos that are really slagging off the show in a really kind of quite horrible way and absolutely ripping it to pieces. And I thought there aren't many shows that talk about kind of that it's good. And I actually enjoyed it. Like it was not the perfect show, but I did enjoy it from start to finish. And I think you enjoyed it too, Michael. Am I right?
Enjoyed it very much, yes. On lots of different levels, I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, good. So what I'd really like to do is kind of just talk about that a bit, just to try and offset the balance between all of these negative videos and then have one positive one. But I don't just want to praise it the whole time. I do want to actually like deconstruct the show a bit and kind of talk about some of the things we noticed. Because you and I are like real TNG fans. Would you say that's true?
I would definitely describe myself as a big fan of TNG in particular, Star Trek as a whole in general. I think I've probably seen all the Star Trek that there is. I'm not sure I've seen all of the original series, actually. Right. But I am very aware that there are, out there in the world of the internet, people who are much bigger fans of the show than me and will know a lot more detail about it than I do. So I describe myself as a big fan, but I know there are bigger ones.
Yes, that is always the danger of doing something like this, because people will no doubt watch it and go, well, actually, you're wrong. But I think we should just power on and kind of give like what a pretty big fan's opinion is of the show.
I have to help her.
You really want to go back out into the cold?
More than ever.
The very first thing I wanted to talk about was Patrick Stewart. Because, you know, it's kind of all centered around him, really, isn't it? The show's named after him. It's really because he's so loved that his character came back and they based the show about him. And I thought, like, he still did a pretty good job of acting. Like, he still felt believably like Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, he's absolutely a fantastic actor and always has been, I think. And, you know, he's still got it. He's still active. He still brings the emotion. He still convinces you that the things his character is going through are real. Yeah, I think he's excellent.
Yeah, I think so too. I've actually seen him in a couple of plays.
Wow.
There was one where he played William Shakespeare. And yeah, he's really great. You know, he's clearly like sort of Royal Shakespeare Company kind of actor, you know, takes the role extremely seriously. And he does the same thing with Jean-Luc Picard, which is awesome.
Can I say that there's absolutely no sense from him that going from doing Shakespeare and being a very serious actor to being captain of the Enterprise, there's no sense that that's a step down for him. You're quite right. He takes it really seriously. He recognises that there's the great story writing in TNG and in Picard as well. And yeah, he gives it everything, just as much as he would to his performance of Richard III.
Yes.
Is that a Shakespeare play? Yes, it is.
Let's say it is. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we really wanted to get him in one of our songs, didn't we?
I think that was very optimistic, and I wasn't surprised that we never heard anything about that. But yes, we did talk about it.
Yeah, there's one of our songs called The Milgram Experiment. Maybe I can play some footage of that here now. And there's one bit in the middle where a very authoritative voice says, please continue, you have no choice but to continue. And we thought that was perfect for Patrick Stewart, especially in this kind of like, you don't deserve to wear that uniform kind of voice, which I could really imagine. I don't know, maybe if we remaster the album in 10 years' time.
We could do it, Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
If you don't mind being replaced by...
Oh gosh, no, not by Patrick Stewart.
Okay. I guess before we say anything more, we should probably say this is going to be extremely spoilerific. There's going to be so many spoilers about both TNG
and Picard.
Should I watch the show first then?
I think you probably should.
I have watched it.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing I wanted to say was kind of about Data, which is just that, like, it. So what happened to Data at the end of Nemesis was kind of, it always felt a bit wrong to me. Like, Data was a huge part of the show until the very end of the very last TNG movie they ever made, and then suddenly he's just like, poof, dead.
Yeah.
And it never felt like he got the send-off he deserved. So what did you think about how they kind of addressed that in Picard?
Yeah, I agree about. I mean, Nemesis is not my favourite of the TNG films. They're probably my least favourite, I think. And the ending is a bit, yeah, just what you said, a bit anticlimactic for Data, in particular. And he's probably my favourite character. I think he's probably many people's favourite characters in TNG. So yes, it was great to see him again, and it was good that they brought him back in a way that didn't actually involve changing what had happened before, because other franchises might have been attempted to rewrite history to bring a much loved character back, but they managed to bring the actor back, Brent Spiner, back in various roles, but also bring the character back in a way that we could see him again without it changing history.
Yeah, and it just gave me a bit more closure, which I think I'd wanted for the last 18 years. Or something like that. Yeah, it felt like a long time, and it sort of made sense with Brent Spiner, the actor, as well, because obviously he's getting old, like, and you can't just keep slapping on more and more makeup and trying to keep him looking young. Like, you're gonna at some point, Data is just gonna have to stop appearing in stuff, and it kind of made sense to do it this way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it wasn't like he died with no children or any kind of other androids to continue his legacy. Like, there was this like little outpost of synths, and yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like, I finished the whole series, and I just sort of finished it feeling like quite nice about it, because I was like, good, they didn't just kill the one android in the galaxy. Like, there's other androids out there now. That's cool. The last positive I had, not that I only had 3, but it's like the 3 that I made a specific note of were just that I thought it was quite an interesting story about, like, the Borg and the synths.
Yes.
It kind of, like, it was enough of a callback to stuff we know.
Yeah.
Without being like telling the same exact story again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was an interesting story. I used to enjoy the old TNG two-parters, which they'd often have the wrap around the end of a series, and the start of the next series would often be a two-parter. I liked that they could give more detail and more depth to a story over 2 episodes, and this was over 10 episodes, so it was a really detailed and in-depth story with great development, I thought. Some of the old TNG episodes, most of them, they would try and fit 2 stories into 1 episode. That was kind of their standard thing. And some of the subplots were a little bit fillerish now and again, let's be honest. They had a story and then a second story, which was just a bit naff. What I liked about the two-parters and this is that the Picard is that all the parts of it were part of the main story. There were no completely irrelevant subplots. They all kind of fed in and had impact on it. I think that was good.
I would say I agree sort of like 90%. Like, there was that weird jaunt down to the planet where they picked up the Borg parts trading woman.
Yes, the first episode where we met 7 of 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know you didn't like that
felt
one.
A little unnecessary. No.
For me, that was like really the like lull of the series, but I'm glad it picked up again after that.
I know what you mean. That was definitely the episode that I was thinking, I really want them to get on with the main story now. But I think it was good to see more about what 7 of 9's been up to and see some of her backstory. And her character's changed so much since we first met her in Voyager. and it's good to see more of what she's been doing and what she's doing now. So I thought that was quite good to get her backstory.
Well, that's a really interesting point, actually, because I did think Seven of Nine was not how I remember her at all. Like, Seven of Nine was always very, well, sort of like Picard, like very logical and like very careful about, how she acted in the series. So how did you think about her character sort of changing to more of like a renegade?
Well, I loved it. I thought that her character in Voyager, when she first appeared, was recovering from her experience of being assimilated, being a Borg. And so she starts off, she's basically a computer. And it's almost a mirror to Data's journey, because all through TNG, he's learning to become more and more human. He's starting to learn to express emotions. He gets his emotion chip. And it's a similar story with Seven of Nine, I think. And now we jump back into her timeline nearly 20 years later, and she's become much, much more human, much more relatable, much more emotional. And yeah, it's part of her journey back on recovery from being a Borg, I think.
Yeah. I can sort of justify it in those terms. Like, it doesn't seem like wrong, but it is still like a bit of a jump from like what I remember.
Yes. Oh, yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I did think Picard has been affected in the same way. Like, he was so rational in the whole series, like did everything so by the book. Even when he hated it, he was like, yes, but Starfleet recommendations say that we must do this. Even if he thought it was like completely immoral, he was like, no, but that's what we have to do. And but now he's way more like free-spirited.
Yes, that was true in the movies as well, I think.
Yes, oh, definitely. Yeah. So like, Insurrection, he like completely defied like Starfleet's orders and just tried to save the planet.
Much more Kirky.
Way more Kirky. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So those were the main positives I wanted to note about it.
Yeah.
Was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, got a couple of thoughts that I had. I think one of the biggest things that appealed to me was the nostalgia of the whole thing. Because TNG started, believe it or not, 30 years ago. 1989 it premiered in the USA. I don't think it made it till the UK until a couple of years later than that. I think it was early 90s before we first saw it. But it's a long time since that show started. It's just great to see these characters still doing stuff, still relating to each other. I loved the episode with the reunion with Riker and Troy. That was wonderful.
I like that too.
Yeah, and yeah, just great to see these characters being together again and doing space stuff together again. I thought that was great. What else did I really like about it? I liked the music. I thought the music was good. It had lots of very subtle quotations of the Jerry Goldsmith's theme from the motion picture. Did you know that the Star Trek TNG theme tune was written for Star Trek the Motion Picture? You probably knew that already.
I did know that because you told me.
Ah, good. And then it wasn't used for the subsequent Star Trek films, but then it resurfaced again for TNG.
It was a slightly different arrangement.
It was. Yeah, there's lots more of it in the
before.
film. Yeah. But yeah, it was referenced in lots of the incidental music, particularly at moments of key emotion when something nostalgic and great was happening. You hear a little hint of that original theme quoted in the new music, which I thought was great. What else did I like about it?
Do you think we were supposed to recognise that, or was it kind of meant to be really subtle?
People like me would have noticed it, but it was subtle.
People like you, music teachers?
Music geeky nerd guys. Yeah,
Okay.
music geeks like me will have spotted quotations from that. They do it in Discovery as well. Do I mean Discovery? Discovery has lots of subtle quotations in the music from the original series, which is you may include me singing that, by the way. You don't have to cut that out.
Okay.
Which I like as well. And there's lots of other things that do that. The new Star Wars films also hint at the old music at moments of key drama. Which is I like. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I noticed it once. There was just like a quiet scene, and I heard that da, 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 da bit, and I said, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see what they're doing there, and I like it." But I think I didn't even realize many other times.
I think it happened
There's
about
like a
once
really-
an episode.
Oh right, okay. There was the really obvious reference to it right at the end of the main theme,
Yes.
which
I liked, but they did exactly the same trick in Discovery, which I thought was a bit weird. And so it's just exactly the same idea again. But I have to say I prefer the Picard theme to the Discovery theme. And it really grew on me as well over time.
I can't really remember the Discovery theme off the top of my head, which does suggest that the Picard theme was more memorable, because I think I can remember how that went. Yes, it had a sort of tin whistle melody, which made me think of Picard playing his tin whistle. I wondered if that was an intentional thing.
that was a great TNG episode.
It was, wasn't it?
I guess the move to like telling a story over a series does mean that you don't get these like really punchy little episodes where you just go, "That's an awesome self-contained thing."
Yeah.
But no, that was cool. I mean, just to say, like, you and I sort of grew up on TNG, really, didn't we? Because we were both like 15, 16, just when it was airing in the UK. And, you know, we'd sort of like tune in to BBC Two at 6 o'clock, make sure we could see it.
Yeah.
It sort of became like a bit of a basis of my sort of moral compass in a way, because I was like, oh, these people are nice, you know, and they do nice things for each other, and I think that's great. We're sort of that generation now. The next generation is our generation.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when I first heard the name, The Next Generation, I thought it was so stupid. I was like, oh, The Next Generation. Oh, couldn't they have thought of anything better? There's a really interesting line in Wayne's World 2. I don't know if you remember when this like slimy guy, who's a character from The West Wing, is like trying to impress Cassandra, and he's talking about champagne and how champagne is only really French, and anything else isn't technically champagne. And then Wayne says, "Oh yes, it's kind of like Star Trek, the original series, and The Next Generation. Despite The Next Generation being technically superior, it will never be as remembered as the original." But like, we've come on a whole generation since then.
Yeah.
And now I'd say TNG is kind of that classic old series, and it's difficult to imagine Picard or Discovery being as remembered as TNG. But maybe we'll be wrong.
Yeah,
who knows?
Who can say? I mean, to me, TNG is Star Trek. That's the epitome. Everything else is an offshoot. Even the stuff that came before feels to me like an offshoot because I didn't see it first. But yes, maybe people who are younger, who are watching this stuff now for the first time, will feel that that's the new stuff is the main thing.
I mean, I think it would be cool if you know, like, we have literally a next generation of kids who end up watching this on Amazon Prime and then go off and find, like, you know, 7 back series of TNG and enjoy that as well.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that'd be neat. I wanted to talk about probably the biggest nitpick I had about the whole series. Well, there are 2 big nitpicks, and they're pretty big nits. The first was that Data already had a daughter.
Lal.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
And so to sort of say, like, oh, she's Data's daughter. Oh, and she has a twin. And it's like, no, this already happened. Like, don't you remember? Like, Lau. And so there's the painting, isn't there, that Picard goes to find in storage. And the interesting thing is that it's a painting called Daughter, but Data did do a painting of his daughter Lau. And that is shown in TNG, and it's very obviously the actress who played Lau at the time. And it's like quite a close-up portrait. And the one that we see in Picard is like a bit further away, and she's like wearing a big robe. And so it's kind of interesting that they used that like little plot hook, but then kind of retconned it with a different actress and a very different look. But then it doesn't really make sense because it's like, that's his daughter, but she had already died by the time he painted it. It wasn't a premonition of the future.
Do you think it's meant to be a different daughter? He made Lal died, and then he paints another painting called Daughter, who he then goes on to create or be involved in the creation of.
Well, I don't know. Like, are we supposed to believe it had something to do with, like, was Data involved before he died?
Yeah,
or was it purely Bruce Maddox that made Daj and Soji?
Yeah, I don't think Data could have been involved before he died, could he? Because Bruce Maddox wasn't in the picture at all in the TNG films.
No. Only as far as I know, Bruce Maddox only appeared in that Series 2 episode, The Measure of a Man.
He's in 2 episodes. He appears again.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I can't remember when he appears another time, but I'm sure he does.
Is it the same actor?
It is the same actor in the TNG, but it's not the same actor in Picard. I looked that up. Different guy.
I had heard this as well.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so actually, what did you think about them bumping off Bruce Maddox?
Yeah, I was
that was a bit
I was hoping he was going to have more of an input into what came after, but perhaps it helped preserve the sense of mystery a bit longer. Perhaps it would have revealed too much too early if he had stayed alive. I don't know. It was certainly a pretty brutal way for him to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, but like wrapping up the thing with the daughter, do you think the writers knew all of this?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Like,
I'm sure they must. I mean, everyone knows that there are people on the internet who know all the Star Trek from memory backwards, and they'll have people on their writers' team whose job it is to research old Star Trek and decide whether the thing they're writing now fits with it or not. And I'm sure they probably have people whose job it is to decide, well, this is a bit different, but it's probably okay. We think we can get away with it, but this is so far different from this, we can't do it. I'm sure they have clever people who do that kind of thing.
So it was kind of a calculated risk.
I think it must have been.
Okay. I mean, they could probably have avoided some of this by making it a sun. So if there was a painting called Sun, it might have been a bit less confusing. But okay, fine. But I did like it. I liked that Data's daughter appeared out of nowhere. That was quite an interesting mystery. It's just, it felt weird not to mention Lao at all. Like, even if it had just been like a throwaway line by Jurati, like, oh, didn't Data already have a daughter? It's like, oh yes, but it was an earlier model or something. You know?
Yeah.
They could have explained it away pretty easily.
Yeah.
The past is written, but we are left to write the future.
Hold on.
One thing that I thought really made it less dramatic was the sheer amount of ships
that were in it.
Like, do you remember in TNG, it was always like the Enterprise and maybe one other ship, or 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And then if there were like
2 Starfleet ships and maybe 3 alien ships, that was like
getting really serious.
Yeah. Yes. When
here it's like 218 Romulan warbirds.
Yeah.
And 200 Federation Galaxy class or whatever ships.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's too much now. They look too small on the screen to really feel imposing anymore.
I wonder if there would have been more ships in TNG if it hadn't been so expensive with the special effects to create that many different things. Whereas now I'm sure it's much easier with all the computer technology to create these things. You don't have to make physical models of them anymore. But yeah, when they all rushed in at the end of that last episode, I thought that was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I think it would have been cooler if there were like 15 Romulan warbirds and like, because how many do you need to like blow up an outpost from space?
I don't know.
One. One would do it. So like 15 would be a pretty imposing force.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe 10, like Federation ships came, you know, but yeah, 218, like enormous ships just felt a bit like, come on. But no, you're right. Maybe if they could have done it before, they would have done. Certainly, like as TNG went on, and then we got Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
They definitely upped the ante.
Oh yeah.
With like some of the space battles, like as the Dominion War got towards the end, and you saw
definitely.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if you remember, but there was. Did you watch all of Deep Space Nine?
Eventually, yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I don't know if you remember, but there was a Galaxy class ship in Deep Space Nine for a few episodes, and it got blown up in some sort of Dominion War fight. And for a while, it wasn't like obviously explained to me, and I was like, "Is that the Enterprise?" And they just blown up the Enterprise in Deep Space Nine. But it wasn't. It was just a different Galaxy class ship that looks identical. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, through all of that Dominion War in Deep Space Nine, I was thinking, where's the Federation flagship during this war?
Yeah.
Surely it should be, but you know, I understand why it wouldn't have been possible to have it, you know, have all those that cast and everything. But I think did they mention it in one episode? Or the Enterprise is doing covert missions on the Delta Quadrant or something.
Probably.
I'm not sure if they did have a line about what it's up to.
I definitely wanted more crossovers.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see all the cast that I like in Deep Space Nine. But yeah, it's funny. I really hated Deep Space Nine for a long time, and then I think I just learned to appreciate it as something different after a while.
I get that.
Thank you, Commander. I'm glad someone around here appreciates me.
Yeah, so actually, I'm curious, like, how would you rate the quality of the three sort of 90s series, like TNG and Deep Space Nine and Voyager? Like, where do they sit in terms of quality?
Yeah, I mean, TNG is the pinnacle, without a doubt, for me. I'd probably sit Voyager and DS9 at a similar kind of level, a little bit below. At the time, I don't think I watched any of Voyager, and I watched the first 4 or 5 series of Deep Space Nine. And yeah, it wasn't until a few years ago, really, when it all became available on Netflix that I started catching up with the other things. And I really got into Voyager, probably maybe a decade ago now, actually, and watched that from end to end. And I thought, yeah, it's good. It is good. And Deep Space Nine I appreciated much more as a slightly older person as well, I think. Maybe the appeal is more mature.
Maybe I would appreciate it more now, and maybe I should go back and watch it. Maybe not from start to finish, but maybe from like season 4 onward, something like that.
And Enterprise.
And, yes, I was just about to ask.
It took me a long time to get past the theme tune for Enterprise.
I'm still not over it.
Yeah, I mean, that was why I didn't watch that show.
Long road.
Oh, don't! I didn't watch the show because of the theme tune. But once you get past it, I think it was a good show. But the theme tune just killed it for me.
It really did. But what was so bad about it?
It was just an 80s power ballad, and it wasn't even the 80s.
They should have known better, really, in 2002?
Yeah.
Yeah, although I did love Professor Sam Beckett. What's his name?
Scott Bakula. Or Bakula. Bakula. Yes, he was great.
I'm going to say Bakula.
Do it. Say it now.
Bakula.
Nice.
I thought he was an inspired choice for Captain. And I loved seeing him in action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do wonder, like, it felt like it was getting better, and I wonder if they just kept making it. Maybe by season 4 or 5, it might have been good.
When didn't it do 4 seasons? When did it stop?
It did 3 or 4 seasons, and then it got cancelled. Yeah. We kind of touched on Picard and 7 being a bit out of character, but I wonder if that's got something to do with Patrick Stewart is also, like, you know, real creative force on the show Picard, obviously. I'm sure, like, that's you know, his desire to steer it. Yeah. And I'm glad, you know, he has some control over it as well, because I sort of trust him to make a good Star Trek show. But I do wonder if maybe Picard is becoming more like Patrick Stewart than like the old Jean-Luc Picard that was, always by the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the sort of the very pinnacle of the series, when the robot aliens from outside the galaxy are coming through the wormholes,
yes,
and they could have just blown up the outpost and saved all organic life in the galaxy. He chose to continue to try and reason with the androids, and I wonder if the old Jean-Luc Picard would have done that, or if he would have just been like, I tried, let's blow him up now.
He did like to talk, the old Picard.
Yes.
He did like his moments of speeches and drama.
But when that clock is ticking down,
yeah,
and it's like seconds away from all life being annihilated, wouldn't he just have been like, the greater good?
Yeah, maybe.
I guess we'll never know. Yes, actually, and another really confusing thing about the plot. So I'm sort of done with the whole daughter thing now.
Yeah.
I can sort of forget about that. But what I want to know is, why did a synth accident on Mars cause the Romulan evacuation to be called off?
I don't think I've got an answer for that. Don't know.
Yeah, so unless I'm misunderstanding the plot, it kind of seems like
Picard was helping the Romulans evacuate, and then the synths went crazy and blew up Utopia Planitia, and then they said, no, we can't help the Romulans evacuate anymore. They're on their own. But it's like, how are those two things connected? I mean, imagine if, Starfleet was based on Vulcan, and Vulcan was helping the Romulans evacuate, or Starfleet, and then there was an incident on one of the other planets in the Vulcan system. How would that affect anything? You'd just be like, so? We can continue saving this entire,
race or culture of people, right? Can't we? It's
So-
oh no, because this random planet had a minor incident.
Is it because Mars and the shipyard was a lot of the Starfleet fleet destroyed in that accident, and therefore their resources are now very limited?
Oh, okay. This is the
Maybe.
first reason I've heard that is starting to make sense. So there were enough ships there docked or being serviced, and the ships blew up.
Because they probably all
Or
got
were
synths working on them, right? All those ships, because there were synths everywhere in those flashbacks we saw to the time of the accident. So they could all have had synths on them, who then caused things that made the ships. Maybe.
Okay, I feel like that wasn't explained well enough.
You might be right.
In the series, if that is the reason, and that is a just barely acceptable reason, then I don't feel like they really mentioned that. And even if a few ships were there, you would have thought there'd be other ships around.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the Starfleet of old that is more about, sort of a union of races across the galaxy. This is more like, I don't know. It's always been like a. Well, no, I need to make sure I don't confuse Starfleet and the Federation.
Good point.
Because there are two different things here.
Yeah.
And so maybe the military organization might be a bit more, hard-lined about it. But I feel like the Federation would still have found a way to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Federation is more like, say, the United Nations.
Yes.
Or something, or like the EU.
Yeah.
And then Starfleet is more like, like a military force.
Yeah. Although the Enterprise wasn't primarily a military ship, was it? It was all about research and exploration. and it had families on it and a school and so it wasn't, although it was armed, it wasn't really a battleship for most of TNG, but it did get into scrapes.
Yes, that is true. But it sort of had the military feel to it,
yes,
like all of the ranking,
yeah.
like the way it was organised.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. It always felt very like naval to me. Like it was kind of a navy of ships, and that makes sense. Because like the original Enterprise was based on the real Enterprise, like aircraft carrier,
was it?
I think, or destroyer.
Mm.
Yes, yeah, and it was called the Enterprise in the 1960s TV show because it was a familiar sounding ship name at the time, because people had heard about the Enterprise after the Second World War, and kind of they associated it with a navy.
Yeah.
What did you think about people dying left, right, and centre?
Gosh, there were so many people dying. Yeah.
So we had Bruce Maddox got bumped off.
Yeah.
And Icheb from Voyager, like, very briefly appeared and got killed horribly. And then the one that I was really gutted about was Hugh.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like we spent so much time with Hugh, and then he dies in like a really petty skirmish.
Yeah, that was sad. It made us really hate the baddie character, though. So perhaps that's the point of it.
Is that why that happened?
Could be. Yeah. I definitely enjoyed it when she got kicked off the thing at the end by 7 of 9 into the abyss. There was a good line then as well. What did she say? I can't remember. There was a really good. Oh, she was I can't remember the Vulcan woman's name. Well, not Vulcan. The Romulan woman's name. Anyway, she was taunting 7 of 9 and saying something like,
yes.
"Why do you even bother getting up in the morning?" And it was like, "So I can kick your ass," or something like that. And then she kicked her into space.
Yes.
You're right. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it did make me hate her.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I also thought, like, why are we only now learning about Dr. What was it, Alton Sung?
Oh yes. When did Noonien and Sung have a son?
Yeah. With whom?
Yes.
Who's the mother?
Because Noonien Sung dies in TNG, doesn't he?
Yes.
At one point, and there's definitely no discussion, but about him having a human offspring. I don't think there is. I don't remember it. As well as all his artificial ones he's created.
So did Data know he had a real brother?
It's certainly, there's a bit of dialogue in that last episode from the Data in the storage memory bank facility where he
the simulation.
So at that point he did, but whether there was any idea of that back in TNG times, I don't know.
All right. I do like that Brent Spiner is in it.
Yes.
And in a way that requires, he doesn't have to be made to look like Data. He can just be Brent Spiner.
Yeah. That's good.
It's kind of cool. I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too.
But I do feel like it's really, like, they could just invent any more Sungs that they need. It's like they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He was also in a couple of Enterprise episodes.
He was.
I don't know if you remember when he was like working with the enhanced people.
I do.
And then right at the end, he's like, maybe this isn't working out. Maybe I should try androids.
Yeah.
To say, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Did you notice there's a weird similarity between Riker coming back to bail out Picard at the end of Picard, and also at the end of All Good Things, when he in All Good Things, like the end of the TNG final series, he like time travels into the future.
Yes.
But he's like old Picard, sort of about the same age. I looked it up, and it's set like 4 years apart, so it's not so different. And he gets like Beverly Crusher to fly her science vessel out into like
I remember it. Yeah.
Neutral zone, and they're about to get killed, and Riker shows up in a new modified Enterprise and like saves the day.
Yes.
And it's really funny when he pops up on that view screen, and I got a little flashback to like when that happened in All Good Things, because like pretty much exactly the same thing happens. Like he just appears out of nowhere, like ready to, you know, sort of destroy anything that's a threat.
Yeah.
Although the difference is that in TNG, in the final episode, he's like a lot more grumpy about it.
He is.
He's like, "Oh, can't believe I'm saving your ass again," and then he kind of just assumes that Picard is senile. And then in Picard, he's like, "Hey, here I am, ready to save the day. You were right, Jean-Luc. Let me help you out." Yeah. And it's like, "Oh, that's nice." I do wonder if he would be quite so keen, but yeah, it seemed like a bit of a jump from him being like retired on his planet to suddenly leading a fleet of 200 ships.
Yeah, he was still on active reserve or something. He did say that in that episode when they were on Riker World.
It shall forever be known as Riker World.
Yeah. I feel like there was a TNG episode called Riker World. No, I might have made that up.
Oh, really?
I'm going to Google that. Hang on.
Okay.
Riker World. No, I made it up.
Okay. All right. My final bit of weird commentary was what's with all the swearing?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a more adult show than the old TNG. The TNG was aimed at me when I was 14 or 15, and this show I feel is aimed at me now that I'm 39. So it's grown up with its fan base.
Do you think it's necessary?
I don't really, to be honest. I think it would be okay without it. But there it is.
Okay. Yeah. It felt like they were trying to please some kind of demographic that needed their sci-fi to be edgy.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it was never needed that before.
Data swears in one of the films, doesn't he? When he's activated his emotion chip and the Enterprise D is crashing. Data swears. It's a big deal because he says the S word.
Oh.
And it's the first swear in Star Trek, which is why it's a big thing. And it's funny because it's Data doing it.
Right. Okay. But yeah, they were dropping the F-bomb all over the place in Discovery, so I'm not too surprised it came into this. Although it was weird hearing Captain Picard saying "ass deep" in Romulan territory. It's like I can't imagine him saying that, 25 years ago. But there you go. So those were kind of most of my notes. Was there anything else you had?
No, I don't think so. What? Not about Picard so far. But
right.
I have got some thoughts about the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are they?
More cameos. Basically.
Okay.
I looked at your notes. You'd written down the same list that I'd come up with, except for one. Well, what you say your list first, and I thought of one other I'd really like to see.
Okay, so I reckon Livaba, who played Geordie, is well up for it.
Yes.
Hopefully he's still around.
Yeah.
And I happen to know for a fact that Patrick Stewart asked Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, I saw that clip too. Yeah.
So it feels like that's happening.
Yeah.
And she said yes, but you never know if they're going to be able to sign all the...
Well, she was in front of a camera at the time, so she had to. But I hope she does.
It's not like she could say no.
Yeah.
So I feel like Guinan will come back. And then Will Wheaton is up for anything, isn't he?
He would jump at it with both feet and both hands at the same time. He would love it. He's been flying the Star Trek flag since the show finished. He's been doing all the stuff he did with Big Bang Theory. He's Mr. Star Trek. He's been keeping it alive. And yes, he would be in it. I know he would.
I think bonus points if they can get him on, and then Picard can say, "Shut up, Wesley." I would like to see that.
Yes, that would be good.
But maybe they shouldn't do it for the reason that it's a little too cliche. Yeah. So who else are you thinking?
I would love to see John Delancey reprise his role as Q.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be great.
Yeah, that would be cool. So would they have him as like an old Q, or would it be a CGI?
I'm sure they could find a reason for him to be old.
Okay.
You know, the Q are immortal, but that doesn't mean they don't choose to age. I'm sure they can appear however they want, can't they? He can look like anything. So he could choose to look like an older, more dignified, more mature version of the Q that we saw back in the day.
Okay. I feel like we've had quite a few cameos already, because we've done, Seven and Riker, Troy. Could we possibly see Worf?
Oh yeah, it'd be good to see Worf.
And who else would be a good one? I mean, I wonder if like Denise Crosby would be up for it, because effectively
Tasha.
her character died, but then sort of came back due to a like weird time loop
thing as a Romulan. Yes.
Well, actually, with the whole Romulan connection, like they could possibly make that work a different way. But
Yeah.
Did
we talk about Gates McFadden as Beverly Crusher?
No, we didn't. But I'd love to see her again.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was a little weird how Picard loved Data at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was something more done for the fans than really would be like an accurate representation, because they were always like great colleagues. Like Picard definitely really respected Data.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say he loved him at the time, although maybe saving someone's life sort of does, have that effect on you. Beverly Crusher was actually, really close to Picard when they were on the Enterprise together. So, yeah, I sort of want to see what happens there. But no, I don't know. I mean, they've got like so many series to mine for actors who might be interested.
Yes.
I mean, anyone from DS9 can come back.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Janeway.
Yes.
Pop in as well. Yeah. I think did we see Janeway talking to Picard in
one of the films?
First Contact.
Yeah, she makes a cameo in one of the films. Yeah, she's Admiral Janeway by that point, isn't she?
Yeah.
How she got promoted above Picard, I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, I think that's right. And we see Quark in one of the TNG films as well. He makes a cameo.
Oh, really?
I think. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, Quark could be up for it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about any other like classic to us 90s sci-fi series coming back? Like, could we see a Babylon 6?
Do you know, I was never really into Babylon 5 at the time. Perhaps I should give that another go more recently, more now, in the present of time. More now. Okay. I know it was very similar to Deep Space Nine, and I think there was a lawsuit because it was so similar. And I think Babylon 5 might have actually been first.
Okay.
But I'm not quite sure about that. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to see it. Now, I definitely watched a few episodes because I can remember some bits of it. Yeah, maybe I should give that more of a watch.
It's a really slow burn series, but quite satisfying. Yeah,
okay.
Stick with it. But they need to remaster it really for HD. Like, it's quite bad quality if you try and get it nowadays. I think it's on Amazon, but it looks very early 90s.
Mm-hmm. 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 You know what I'd love to see brought back from the 90s?
Farscape.
No, not at all. Not even slightly. No, we were talking about what? What even is that?
It's. I think it was Canadian, extremely low budget. There was like 3 characters. One of them was like a little talking TV head.
No, I think
they played very late at night on Channel 5.
Yeah, that one can stay in the past, I think. No,
Okay.
we were talking
What
about
is it then?
Scott Bakula earlier. Quantum Leap. I'd love to see some
Right,
more Quantum
yeah.
Leap.
Yeah.
Love to
As
see.
a reboot?
I mean, I'd love to see it with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell in it.
Wow, yeah. Although how old are both of them these days?
Yeah, I think Dean Stockwell must be a bit older than Scott Bakula, so they might be quite old. But, you know, I'm sure they could still leap from life to life. Maybe.
Did you tell me, actually, that they could do a Quantum Leap with Scott Bakula playing as Al? Was this your idea? I feel like you maybe told me this over a pint of beer 10 years ago.
There was definitely an episode where they switched places because the only way to get... what was Scott Bakula's character called in Quantum Leap? Sam. Of course it was. The only way to get Sam Beckett out of a particular scrape was for Al to go into the time machine and leap into him, and they ended up swapping places for an episode, and then they got stuck and had to try and work out how to swap back. So that definitely happened. But in terms of... Yeah, well, I guess that's a good idea. I don't think it was me who said it, but you could have a more modern version with Sam Beckett as the advisor, couldn't you? Having been there and done it all. And a younger leaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could work.
Yeah. I would quite like to see that. Yeah. Do you think sci-fi is as good these days?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I'd not really thought about it very much. There's a lot of great sci-fi out there. There's a lot of sci-fi that takes itself maybe more seriously out there. Maybe it's lost some of its fun edge now and again.
Something like The Expanse is a good example of that. Like it takes itself very seriously. Like the whole kind of physics of space travel, like they've done it right. But it's also, I'm not sure how much fun it is. I'm trying to think of like another really good sci-fi series I've watched recently, and it's kind of a struggle. I can't really think of anything.
Shout out for Red Dwarf.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of it went through a phase of like just being completely gone, didn't it? And now it feels like it's coming back.
Yeah, it was great when it was young, and then it went through a phase of being really, I don't think, very good, and then it disappeared, and now it's come back, and I think it's great again. I think it's rediscovered some of what was good about it when it was young, and I've really enjoyed the last 3 series of it. I'm looking forward to the special that's coming up quite soon.
Cool. I am going to check them out then, because I like Red Dwarf when it's good. Yeah,
the first of the new series was pretty good, I thought. It was great to see the gang back together again. But then the second, would that be Red Dwarf 11, I think, of the more recent series? So. I thought that was excellent. Particularly the first episode of it was a great science fiction story, but it had loads of funnies in it, and it worked for me. I thought it was really good.
Okay. I shall check it out.
Watch it!
Okay. There's actually some great sci-fi anime.
Ooh.
So, I mean, there's like so much Ghost in the Shell, if you like your sort of like Neuromancer style stories. And there was a really great space anime called Space Battleship Yamato, which was originally a series made in like the 70s or 80s in Japan, and then it got remade recently, I think in the early noughties. But the remake was brilliant, like really gorgeously drawn, and a really good story as well. So there's some anime out there to scratch your itch.
I've never really got into the anime.
Right.
I'm not opposed to it or anything, I've just never got into it. Maybe I should give it a go.
Well, you know, no, it's fair enough. If you feel sort of like a bit divorced from the like cartoon kind of look, then it can be difficult to get over that. You know? Yeah, so fair enough. Yeah, I think I just miss TNG being on every week.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter about that 25 years later. Yeah. Cool. I mean, that's all I had to talk about. Did you want to mention anything else?
Don't think so. Apart from another big shout out for Q.
Yes.
Want to see Q.
Where do you think we'll take the story? Assuming there is a series 2.
Yes, I think it's been commissioned already, hasn't it?
Has it?
I think there's a series. I think series 2 was commissioned almost before they started transmitting series 1. I think. In terms of plot, I've no idea. Just want to see more of those characters.
Okay. I doubt we'll be done with the Borg.
No.
And, sure, Romulans will come back, but yeah. It feels like they've left the crew in this. I like how the crew built up, and I really started to like the characters. In the last few episodes, I was like, I really like Rios and Raffi, and they felt themselves to grow on me. And now it feels like quite like Firefly.
Yeah.
With this little crew on a little ship.
Yeah.
And
that was a really good
I think
vibe.
That's what they're going for.
In Firefly.
Yeah. I did want to mention. So, what did you think about all of the holograms on La Sirena being different versions of Rios?
I thought that was brilliant. I thought
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was funny. It needed some funnies, and that was funny. And they all had comical regional accents and quite extreme characters as well. And it brought the funny, which was you got to have some funny.
Okay, so you didn't mind that.
I didn't mind that. I liked it. I'm more than not minding it. I thought it was amusing, and I liked it. You presumably didn't like it.
I didn't like it at first, but partly because it was quite confusing. I was like, which one are you again? But when they had them all together in like Picard's chateau room,
yes,
and they were all trying to like piece together their memories and stuff. I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, I do feel like they slightly missed an opportunity to have more like real members of the crew. I kind of wanted a quirky hologram Doctor again, like
yes,
like Voyager.
Yeah. Robert Picardo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone told me that before she died, Majel Barrett recorded lots of different things of her saying all the things you need to be able to use her voice to create anything in much the same way that Siri works. I don't know if that's true because it was told to me by a person. I didn't read it in an article or anything. But if it's true, I would love to hear a computer voice played by Majel Barrett at some point. That would be be cool. Good cameo.
I would like that as well. Yeah. Yeah, Majel Barrett, who was also in TNG as Luoxana Troy.
Yes.
Deanna's mother,
Yes.
Which I didn't realise at the time.
No.
But it is quite funny when she's talking to the computer.
It is, yeah. She's been in every iteration of Star Trek.
Really?
Probably except Picard now. Up to, was she in Enterprise? I'm not sure. But certainly there was a time when she'd been in every Star Trek, because she played multiple roles in the original series. And she was married to Gene Roddenberry as well. So
yeah,
she's the first lady of Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, she is. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing series 2. I mean, TNG was pretty bad in its first series.
Yeah, it definitely got better.
It got better. So, I hope Picard will continue to grow in kind of the same way.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Thank you very much for doing this chat with me, Michael.
No props.
Should we do our outro? I'd just like to do the usual YouTube thing of, if you like this video, you should definitely hit the like button down there and subscribe to the channel as well to help me out. And see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye, Michael.
Bye.
Thanks. I don't think I can bring myself to do that.
Thank you for not trying to talk me out of all this.
Believe me, I know better.